Welcome back to the Child Care Chatter podcast. I'm Malia Love, Child Care Consultant for Iowa, Jefferson, Keokuk, Lee, and Van Buren counties.
And I'm Audrey, Consultant for Scott County. If you've been wondering how to bring some structure back into your days after a summer of chaos, this episode is for you. We're calling it Fall Into Routine, and we're talking all about how to reestablish structure in both child care centers and homes.
We'll be sharing real-life examples, challenges that come up, tips that actually work, and some reflective questions to help you fine-tune your routines this season.
So let's set the scene with a story. Meet Liam. He's 3 years old, super energetic, super bright, and this summer his routine went out the window.
We're talking road trips, beach days, late night ice cream, screen time galore, zero nap schedule, meals at random times. He was loving life. But then came the end of August.
First day back at his center, Liam was not the happy camper he'd been in June. He cried at drop-off, didn't want to sit for circle time, skipped snack, and even had a meltdown when it was time to transition outside.
Now that's not unusual, and it doesn't mean a child is being, and I quote, bad. It usually just means that they've lost the rhythm that helps them feel safe and in control.
So let's break it down. Why is routine so important, especially for young children?
Predictability creates safety. When kids know what's coming, it reduces anxiety. Think about how we feel knowing our daily schedule. It's the same for them. They can anticipate, prepare, and eventually manage transitions independently.
Routine also builds trust. It tells a child, I know what's going to happen and I know the adults around me are in control.
And it's not just emotional, it's developmental. Routines help with time concepts, sequencing, independence, and even language development. For example, using phrases like, it's cleanup time now, or singing a tidy up song builds comprehension over time.
So Malia, with your background in home childcare, was there something in your routine that you never skipped? Like that one thing the kids could always count on every day? And for those of you listening, think about that for a second. What part of your routine do your kids rely on the most?
During my time doing home childcare, I only had a small group of kids, but we had this fun routine during rest time where before we laid down to rest, each of the kids would say where they were going in their dreams, whether that was to the park, the moon, wherever they wanted. They looked forward to this every day, and it was their way of knowing, oh, it's time to lay down and go to sleep.
I love that you mentioned about the routine during your rest time. My background is in center daycare, and within centers, there's usually a lot more structure given that there may be more children in one classroom. Thinking back, the one thing my children always could rely on was always referring to a visual schedule. It was important to my kids to feel like they were included in what was happening next. By referring to the schedule often, they got more of a sense of control, leading to less pushback during transitions.
It works perfectly that we both have some home and childcare experience because you can experience the same things in different settings. That seamlessly leads us into our next segment, how routines differ between home and childcare. So how do routines differ in a home environment versus a center or a preschool?
At home, routines might be more flexible. Maybe a child eats breakfast after cuddles or naps are based on the child's natural rhythm. That's totally valid. The goal is consistency, not rigidity.
In centers, routines are more structured. Arrival, breakfast, learning time, outdoor play, lunch, nap, snack, and then pickup. This predictable flow helps children know what comes next, even if the environment is stimulating.
I love using visual schedules in both settings. For kids who can't yet tell time, seeing what's coming helps them process transitions better.
Absolutely. And even routines like hand washing before meals or singing a goodbye song at pickup time adds rhythm and structure to a child's day.
Here's more food for thought. Adding more visual and auditory cues into your schedule can be so beneficial with keeping a routine. Some of my favorite examples of visual cues are introducing a timer they can see so that they are aware of how much time is left, visual cards that tell which is next on the schedule, and signs that prompt the children how to complete daily tasks, like a hand washing guide posted or pictures of where the toys go on the shelf to stay organized. Do you have any examples to add of auditory cues?
The auditory cues I have seen work best are calling out how much time is left on a current activity, using music during transitions, prompting structured choices. For example, asking them, do they want to play with the kitchen area or the dolls next? What if a provider is looking for more examples of cues to add to their routine? Who can they talk to?
I would say contact your local childcare consultant. They are always useful in giving ideas that can help your class run as smooth as possible.
Now, let's get into the challenges of a routine, because even the best routine doesn't always work out the way we want it to.
Oh yes, especially during the first few weeks back after summer. We see resistance to nap time, clinginess at drop-off, even kids testing boundaries they hadn't done in months.
That's developmentally appropriate. Kids are adjusting to a more demanding environment again. Social interactions, structure, and group dynamics are a lot after a more relaxed summer.
Some families might also be adjusting to new siblings, moving houses, or different care providers. All of those things can impact how a child receives structure.
So here are a few things to keep in mind when routines aren't working. First, check the routine itself. Is it too rushed? Too long between meals or naps? Second, try looking at consistency. Are all of the adults reinforcing it the same way? Third, acknowledge the child's feelings. Don't miss their stress. They are just learning how to adapt into an environment.
That's huge. Sometimes a child just needs to hear, I know it's hard to say goodbye, but I'll be back after nap time just like always.
Or, I see you're upset. We're going to clean up, but let's take a deep breath together first.
Let's get into some tips that really work for both home and center providers.
1. Start small. You don't need to revamp your entire day. Choose 1 or 2 key points, like morning drop-off or nap, and make those super predictable.
2. Use the same language or visual cues each time. It may seem repetitive, but kids need repetition to feel safe.
3. Give time warnings for transitions. Things like 5 more minutes until cleanup, while also showing the timer. This goes a long way in preparing them mentally.
4. Let the child participate in the routine. Having them be a visual schedule helper or pick the nap time book gives them ownership.
And lastly, expect the adjustment to take time. It's not a failure if it takes a few weeks. That's just normal.
So if you're in the middle of a post-summer routine chaos, breathe. You're not alone. Start simple, stay consistent, and always lead with connection.
Structure and love are not opposites. They work best together. Routine gives kids the framework they need to thrive.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Childcare Chatter podcast.
We're super grateful for your curiosity about falling into routine. For a deeper dive, swing by our website at iowaccr.org and join us on social media at iowaccrnr. Don't miss out. Tune in next month for another episode of Childcare Chatter podcast, brought to you by your pals at Childcare Resource and Referral of Southeast Iowa.